Claire from Scrappy Nerd UK, and welcome to another instalment of my December daily directory. So today I wanted to talk to you about the fact that we tend to tell the same story every single December. And it's a case of how many different ways can I tell the story about the same Christmas tree that I put up every year, the same decorations that I put up every year. And I really wanted to address it in this video and tell you my thoughts and feelings on it. If we're talking about something the same every year, I really try and look for a different angle to tell my story from. And that could be physically from a different angle that I take the photo from. It could be something, really look at something and find something you've never noticed before. So it could be that your Christmas tree, that you have a certain reflection on a bauble, and this is going really deep, but we are looking for differences in those stories to tell, not just this year, but year on year on year. I know that I can tell the same story about we're putting our Christmas tree up, but actually I want more detail than that. I want more story than that. I want little things that I notice, and this is why having a little notepad with you, just to jot little things down, little things that come to you as you just go about your day, will help you build these stories into something different that they haven't been the years before. Another way to look at it from a different angle, and I touched on this in the last video, is to get someone else's story, get someone else's voice in your album. So I might tell my story about putting our Christmas tree up, or putting our decorations up, or our Christmas shopping, our food shop every December, or the wrapping. But what if I got someone else to tell that story? What if I got my husband to put his perspective on that? I love sitting and wrapping Christmas presents. I love that. I know he doesn't. But when I write my story in my album, it's always the same about, I love sitting there, Christmas film on, wrapping all these presents, being able to put them under the tree. The story from my husband is completely different. So it would be great to get his perspective into the album as well, and get another voice in the album. Now, 2020's brought obviously its own challenges this year, but I think that's a perfect opportunity to reevaluate and really think about how things feel different this year. So I think naturally our stories are going to be slightly tweaked this year in terms of, the stories that we're going to have to tell, the stories that we're going to have to tell where we can't meet friends and family. And I think it's really difficult. And I know that some people won't want to include those stories because they don't want any negativity or sad stories in their album. But I think it is a perfectly valid story to include. The fact that probably on Christmas Eve, we normally spend it with friends. Probably this year, we won't be able to. Unless things change in the UK, we won't be able to. So that is my story. Probably that will be my story for the day, that traditionally, and we have done this for many years, we get together with the same friends on Christmas Eve. That won't be happening this year. So my story will be about how I feel and how things are different this Christmas Eve. What are we going to do this Christmas Eve if we don't meet with the friends? So I've got a completely different story to tell because of the fact that it's 2020. And so I think that we should use this opportunity to be able to look at how things look differently this year. Now, I think it's really important to remember that we don't need to go looking for inspirational stories, inspirational photos. I know that we as crafters, we talk a lot about finding inspiration. And this is hard work on ourselves. We really don't do ourselves any favours by doing this. Now, we aren't looking to reinvent the wheel with this project. And what starts to happen then is you start to give up on the project because this is why I think December Daily just doesn't get finished. I know that people get busy, and that is quite often why it doesn't get finished, but we're looking for all these new ideas to include and stories to tell, and then it just becomes work. And I think that's why it's important to look back on your albums, look at the stories that you've told, and be okay to include those same stories from a slightly different perspective again this year. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not looking to be able to go out every day and do something fabulous every day in December. So we've got something to document every day. Look at the stories that we've told, and be happy with that as your inspiration, rather than trying to find something completely different to document this year. Now, I'm going to say something to completely contradict what I've just said, because I also think it's very important to not look back on what you've written previously in December Daily. Because I think if you approach your story without any sort of accumulated baggage of previous December Dailies, then I think that will help to stop that familiar feeling. So if you're looking for design inspiration, go back and have a look at your December Dailies, but I wouldn't necessarily read those stories, because that could almost taint your stories for this year. So design ideas, yes, but don't read the text. Create your own new stories this year to make it feel fresh. So talking about the feeling so familiar, I think you do become familiar with the details that you feel like there's nothing new to cover. I've told the story of putting my Christmas tree up every single December Daily. Now, on the surface, this may be true, but really delve into the detail and take it as an opportunity to learn more. So let's take, I'll keep using the Christmas tree as an example. Let's take the Christmas tree. Now, we put our tree up, we take our tree down. That's literally the story. We've put our Christmas tree up today. But what else can I tell about that story? What else can I tell about the fact that this is my story? I am ready to put my decorations up mid-November. And I have an argument with him about when the decorations go up. My story for this year, I've got it sorted. Just having this conversation with myself, with you guys. My story is the fact that I'm ready to start Christmas mid-November, but I get held back because my husband says, the tree is not going up until the 1st of December. Now, his reasoning is that he thinks that I will run out of Christmas cheer if I do it too early, and he's absolutely right. So my story every year is, look, we put the Christmas tree up, but actually my story this year, just by looking into it in a little bit more detail, is actually I want to put the tree up early. I want to get Christmas started earlier than we normally start, but being reminded that I don't want to run out of that Christmas spirit before Christmas Day week actually gets here. And that, so looking into it in that much detail, actually I've got a bit more of a story to tell, and I want to be really intentional this year on my journaling. I want to include more journaling this year than I ever have done, and it's things like that that's going to get that journaling out of me, figuring out what story I can tell off the back of my Christmas tree. Another one, and this may seem just absolutely crazy, but we had this Christmas tree, not the one that we've got now. We had this Christmas tree and we lost one of the legs for it. We had to make a makeshift leg. And that in itself, you know, if we look back in years to come and go, oh my God, I remember that wonky Christmas tree. It was a nightmare and we had to tape some cardboard together and, you know, that is a story that ordinarily you wouldn't tell, but this is your Christmas story. These are your memories for December. And if it means talking about your wonky Christmas tree, if it means talking about the fact that you notice that the lights shine on this certain decoration and it casts a rainbow on the wall, if it means you're talking about wanting to start and put your decorations up mid-November but being held back for a reason, those are all stories that have been born out of the fact that the Christmas tree has gone up. So look for different ways that you can tell the story compared to what you have done previously. So when I was talking about learn more, it could be that you include some journaling about something that perhaps you wouldn't have done previously, a little bit of background information on something. So you could be a Christmas market. You could have gone to a Christmas market, and I know that some of those are still going on, and you could have gone to one of those and you could have got a photograph of the lovely stalls and that, but that could be the same story as what you've done the last 5 years. We went to a Christmas market. Take that story and add to it by doing a bit of research, find out where Christmas markets originated, what they tend to look like, whether they're different, what their people tend to trade at these Christmas markets. That sort of thing, going into a bit more detail, will change up that story for you. You're not just talking about where you've gone, but you found out a little bit about the history of those sort of things. So Christmas markets, or for instance, I'm going to a place called Wadston Manor for their Christmas tree trail, Christmas light trail. And when I go, I will be doing a little bit of research about the place, and I'm going to be including that in my December daily as well. I don't just want it to be, we went to look at these pretty lights, which is a very viable story in itself, but I want some history about this place that I've been to include with my journaling as I go along. So definitely, if you're looking to extend those stories and make them a little more bulkier than they have been, or different to what they have been, look to do some research on the place that you've been or the experience you've had, and look to include that. One thing I want to leave you with is a quote that came up a couple of months ago that I stumbled across, and I think it is so relevant for talking about December Daily and talking about the fact that we document the same thing every year, and that is totally okay that we do that. Now, I don't have the quote verbatim because I can't find it. I screenshot it and I can't find it now, but it went along the lines of something like this. Reread your favourite books at different periods of your life. The plot never changes, but your perspective does. So that really resonated with me when I was thinking about December Daily, and the fact that I'm not going to be able to include probably any new memories this year because of COVID. And so that made such a difference to me to almost validate the fact that I am going to be telling these same stories. I am going to be covering the same thing about the tree and the wrapping and the presents and the hot chocolate, and that's okay. That is totally okay. When I come to look at my albums in years to come and look back and see how my story has changed and how these things have changed, and it could just be my hot chocolate story, it could just be my mug has changed. That is enough for me to be able to see the progression of things that have changed. The way that I tell a story, the way that I word something one year, and the way that I tell and word it 5 years down the line could be completely different. And that's when I look at my albums, and also as a scrapbooker, I look back on my albums and think back in 2015, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? But that's important to see the progression of my style and how things I've learned, and that's okay. And that's why I have no issue, and you shouldn't either, telling these same stories year in, year out. Like I said, reread your favourite books, the same book, over and over, because the plot never changes, but your perspective does. So I'm going to leave you with that little thought. And if you're still here at the end of this video, then well done. Now, I am actually going to be live on YouTube tomorrow. So 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, I will be live for a December daily chat right here. So if you want to come over and chat with me live, ask me any question, or if you just want to come and hang out and talk December daily, then be sure to come and tune in tomorrow. There is a video scheduled. If you go onto that video and hit the bell, it will notify you when I go live as well, so you won't miss it. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you found this video informative and helpful. If you have, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, hi, please subscribe, and I'll see you all tomorrow for the live video. Bye.